first Instagram Live.
This is it. I mean, it can't get any better. We are live, and it is officially 3 o'clock, right when we're supposed to be there. So
only you can get me out of hiding and getting on Instagram Live, because this is a first for me.
Well, we'll go easy on you. You can see a lot of people in the chat. Can we get a fist bump for Thomas, or maybe at least a little wave?
We live. How you doing, Kyle? This is cool.
One.
I see why people do this now. No, it's good. Good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's kick it off. We want to get started and hear from folks there in the chat. My name is Michael Cowden. I'm the Director of Student Engagement with ICSC. This is our third, Thomas, you're our third guest on ICSC's
awesome
Instagram Live. So let's start by learning a little bit more about you. And like quick fire, how did you get started in the industry? And,
sure.
About Rappaport as well.
Well, can I first thank you and thank ICSC for this opportunity, and I would be remiss if I didn't send my regards out to everyone who's listening on this Instagram Live, whose life has been impacted by COVID-19, and our first responders and essential workers. Your work has definitely been helpful, and I send my regards. All right. So quick fire. How did I get to Rappaport, or how did I get into the industry?
Let's talk about how you got to Rappaport. How about that?
Awesome. Well, I'm a retail broker at Rappaport, and I think growing up, being a retail broker wasn't really on my list of things I wanted to be growing up. Right. It probably would have been a doctor or a nurse or some of the first. Right. Exactly. But I was exposed to retail real estate during college, actually, Michael, where a former mentor, now close friend, spoke at a business series about retail real estate. And it was something different about that encounter, that speech, that was different from a lot of the accounting firms and the investment banks that were coming from New York. I had never thought about, a Publix anchored shopping center being an investment, or tenants paying rent to a landlord who owned that Publix anchored shopping center. It was a perspective that I had never thought about, and it's something that interests me. And so, and then at the time, I was a big fan of Publix, being in Florida. Attended Florida A&M University, which, by the way, is the best university on planet Earth. I bleed orange and green. And so,
university partner, I have to give that shout out too.
All right. Yep. And we have several scholarships. Students can apply for the FAMU scholarships through ICSC endowed. But I then became a member of ICSC. And looking back, that was 2011, 2012. And so I've been an ICSC member longer than I've been an ICSC professional. And so fast track, I'm now in Central Florida working for Crawford & Company, who was handling the Publix anchored shopping centers throughout the Southeast, and really didn't know what I was doing at the time. I went to school to get my MBA, but retail real estate, again, being a broker, I tried my best to surround myself around as many mentors as I could. And the VP at the time over leasing had, I think it was 12 or 13 direct reports. And so you have a young kid coming out of college who's interested in getting into brokerage, and I positioned myself to get as much time as I could with this individual. And that was, if it was coming in early and taking notes, if I had questions, he would get into the office at 7:15, and I would be right there, with my cup of coffee, asking those questions and getting as much time as I could, right?
Yeah.
And so that then led to a great almost 4 years in Orlando, Florida, Central Florida. And I realized while I was young, wasn't married and didn't have any kids, family's important to me. I'm from the Washington D.C. area. I decided that I wanted to move back to Washington D.C. And it's through ICSC and Gary Rappaport's influence I was able to connect. I don't think you can go to an ICSC conference and not know who Rappaport or Gary Rappaport is, based on the seminars and the classes that he teaches. And I connected with Henry Fonville, and the rest is history. I'm in D.C. And I'm at Rappaport. So it's a quick fire.
So what are you, obviously, we appreciate you thanking the first responders, but what are you seeing out there right now? Some quick, jump to the front of your mind things as a broker in the DC area with COVID-19, and what kind of deals are you working on?
Sure. So I think before I answer that question, it may be helpful to kind of add context to the Washington, D.C. market. Our market is robust. It's unlike anything you've ever seen or unique than any other market that's out there. We have 3 different jurisdictions. And where do you live, Michael?
I live in DuPont Circle, so I'm in the city. That's my,
all right.
Because people like, I'm from DC, and then they're from Northern Tysons or some other.
Right.
Yeah. I'm
right. Right. And so, you have Northern Virginia, DC, and Prince George's County. I live in Prince George's County. And Washington, D.C., of course, is very unique. Loudoun County having some of the highest incomes in this nation. Prince George's County, one of the wealthiest African-American counties in this nation. And then D.C., it really speaks volumes. And we have to look at, I believe, the economic drivers and how this economy over many downturns or recessions or correction has not been that impacted. And one of the reasons is because, the public school system employs majority of the population here, as well as some of the university systems. And then you also have some of the big companies such as Deloitte and General Dynamics that's lock in step with the government with private contracts. And so when you talk about an economy and you talk about the fundamentals, this market is very unique. But one of the things that I want to mention is the fact that restaurant deals have been a focus in this market for many years. The National Restaurant Association listed that Washington, D.C., the state itself, has the highest restaurant per capita than anywhere in the nation. And pre-COVID-19, we had a significant amount of second-generation restaurant spaces in our market. On top of that, a lot of mixed-use developments were programming developments for restaurants. And Michael, what's been hit the hardest during this time are full-service restaurants. And so this market, with the economic drivers that I mentioned and the incomes and the stability, what we're facing in this market, and this is my perspective of course, what we're facing in this market is a major hit to restaurants. And I feel that landlords are going to have to position themselves to ride this out, and potentially, if they want first generation restaurant spaces in their project, to look at some percentage rent deals and invest in some of these newer restaurants if these are new deals that are going to be done. I ask myself, if there's a mom and pop or a regional concept that's looking to do a deal, if it makes sense for them to easily do a conversion or seek new space in a first generation restaurant space. And that's going to be the question.
Right.
On the tenant side, however, if you look at those who have really been successful during this period, it's been the quick service restaurants. And Rappaport is doing deals. And so Mike Howard and myself picked up Raising Cane's. And I don't know if you're familiar with Raising Cane's.
Tell us a little bit about Raising Cane's for those who don't know.
Raising Cane's is the premier chicken tender quick service restaurant.
You're gonna get
me, say it again.
You're gonna get me hungry.
Out of the South, started in Louisiana by Todd Graves, and they've expanded to over 500 actually locations throughout this nation. Chick-fil-A does about 4.1 million Raising Cane's is right behind them with the average unit volume of about 3.5 million, and we're excited because they're looking to expand in the Washington D.C. area. But I say that because not only is Raising Cane's looking to expand that Rappaport is handling, but you also have Chipotle. Bill Dickinson in our office is handling that account, and they have a new Chipotlane concept. And so this is a concept where you can still get that quality bowl that you want through a drive-through. And I think that what better time to position yourself in a COVID-19, post-COVID-19 restriction market to take advantage of some of these opportunities. And so we're very busy. 7-Eleven is out looking at opportunities. And so I think it depends on the retail use. We're in a strong market and we're very busy.
So tell me about maybe some of the things you've learned about being a broker. We were talking about how some of your strategies to learning the market and even some of the new things you're using with tech and Microsoft Teams, during the COVID crisis as well. Oh
man, Microsoft Teams has been a lifesaver. And so how do you get a client who's, out of state on a plane right now to do a market tour? You can't. But Microsoft Teams, and this was an investment that Rappaport was looking into pre-COVID-19, and I think it was right on time. So we've been utilizing Teams, and Zoom has also been helpful, but we're able to show screens and do virtual market tours. And that's been helpful, looking at sites and actually getting that approved so that we can get locations through committee when the time is right. And so technology has definitely been helpful during this period.
So what are some early tips that you could give to someone who is looking to be a broker? Maybe they're getting ready to graduate and they're thinking, is it for me, kind of a thing?
Early tips looking to be a broker. And so I would say one of the things that set me apart early in my career, and I'm still early in my career, but when I first started and left college is I honed in on a skill set and I mastered that skill set and I used that skill set to add value. And so it's inevitable when you're a broker and you're working the deal, negotiating the lease, moving that lease to close, and you're working multiple deals, it's inevitable that cold calling tends to fall on a back burner. And people hate cold calling. They hate picking up the phone and dialing. Michael, I loved it. And I used cold calling as a way to add value to brokers on some of the assets or some of the projects or some of the listings that they need a little bit more grease on. And so I would come into the office and I would look at, and this is early in my career, so this isn't Rappaport. I don't want Rappaport saying everyone at Rappaport cold calls. Right, I was looking at somebody in the chat box. No, we cold call. It was early in my career at my prior firm that everyone was so busy, and so I was able to identify what properties needed a little bit more work, and position myself to ask, hey, is there an assignment or is there a listing I can help you with? And then I would use that listing to get new business because deals beget deals. And so if there's any advice that I can give to a young professional is hone in on a skill set and find out, what your weaknesses are and work on that, but hone in on that skill set that you can use to add value. And I think that's what helped set my, trajectory apart from others who also started around my same time.
Yeah. So talk to me about how some of the evolutions that you've seen in the industry. I know Rappaport has a couple of really big projects in the region, but are there any big trends that you're seeing as far as how the industry is evolving?
Sure. Well, would you like to talk about those projects? Because I know
yeah.
you know the projects, and so And I guess we never mentioned who Rappaport is. And so for those who do not know, Rappaport is a full-service commercial real estate firm. We oversee close to almost 15 million square feet of space throughout the Washington, D.C. area. Gary Rappaport is the head, and I had the pleasure of actually leasing the first center that he purchased off of Liberty Road in Baltimore County. And he's since grown that into the platform that it is today. So there are two big mixed-use development projects that Rappaport is currently overseeing. We partnered with W.C. Smith, and that's Avec on H Street. And if you're familiar with H Street, this was historically the entertainment corridor in D.C. pre-MLK riots. And Avec is, say it again.
The Atlas Theater's out there. It's still there.
Yeah, the Atlas Theater. And so we're very excited about that project and looking forward to energizing that corridor. And then Skyland Town Center is a 17-plus year mixed-use development project that Rappaport's been working on for quite some time. And we're also partnered with W.C. Smith on that as well. And so it's been, creating, cultivating space, creating, a place where people can come, live and shop. I'm interested to see post-COVID-19 if some of the short-term changes become permanent. I've listened to a few architects speak about how they're redesigning or looking at redesigning places and spaces so that people feel more comfortable. But, again, I think the trend to really look at right now is restaurant spaces, right? And in DC, as I mentioned before, where we're the highest per capita, and that's the state. And then in the region, one restaurant per every 100 people.
Yeah. Well, I saw
high.
Old Abbott Grill, which is obviously one of the more famous restaurants in the city. They're building barriers and things to serve people. The restaurant market we're getting ready to come back on. So I had one question coming through the chat, so we have to get to it. You've already touched it, but what is one of your favorite things about working in the industry? What brings you the most joy?
Every day is new, and I like a challenge, and because every day is new, and there's always something. I believe there's always something to look forward to, and so when you're motivated by challenges. I think that's something that I look forward to, and that's something that energizes me. And then I also like the fact that I'm able to, look at my work ethic and allow my work ethic to reflect what it is that I make financially from a compensation standpoint. And so when there's no ceiling, and all I have to do is pick up the phone and make a phone call, I like that as well. And then I also like the fact that there's several trade organizations that people can become a part of. ICSC is a big one, but local trade organizations and networking. I would encourage college students to get involved in some of their local trade organizations. There's only so many national deals that you can get done. And when you're talking about community and building community and looking at how a lot of local businesses are impacted, and there's some local businesses that are on the sideline that are looking at, opportunity now, some of the trade organizations can foster some of that business. And so I like that aspect as well, is being able to position myself and network and meet new people. So it's different.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about someone's wanting to know your day-to-day. What does an average day look like pre-COVID and post-COVID for you? What has really changed?
Pre-COVID and post-COVID. Well, I'll tell you, I think the first few weeks of COVID-19 shocked the nation, and I think we were all trying to figure it out. I'll say pre-COVID, it was the day-to-day prospecting, leasing, tours, looking at my pipeline, understanding what deal flow, if there's, a certain priority in an assignment, making sure that I touch that and I touch every deal. I think during COVID-19, every broker would probably tell you they became asset managers. And so it was calling the tenants and understanding where they are, if they've applied for the PPP loan, and now if they've gotten that money or when they will, and if there's anything that we can do to help, let us know. I think post-COVID-19 will be assisting landlords, continuing to give them updated information on the market, and being a team player and a partner in helping them through this process. And I think looking at, again, the tenants that we're able to advise in this market and grow, looking at every opportunity.
Yeah. So this is another one that came through. What are you most excited about as you envision the future of the industry? Is there any, if you're, let's get out a crystal ball. What do you see coming?
And so say that last part again.
What do you see coming? I'm making this more complicated than it needs to be.
What do I see coming?
Like a future, that you're excited about.
I'm not sure. And anything would be speculation at this point, just in regards to COVID-19. I'm not sure where we're going to be in the next year or 2 years. But I will say that our market has been, let me rephrase this. Some of our jurisdictions have been somewhat hesitant on approving drive-throughs because of whether it be traffic and or wanting to create spaces where people can walk, and they've been focused on community and density. I think that COVID-19 is going to position a lot of retailers to potentially seek more drive-through opportunities, and I think that's going to have an effect on our market. And so, what am I looking forward to? I think I'm looking forward to working with some of the clients that Rappaport has, and helping expand some of those uses throughout our market and seeing what's in store. So I'm also looking, and I'm on the sidelines as well. But we don't know what the next year or 2 years what's entailed.
So another person was wondering, how do you stay up to date with what's happening in the DC market?
Sure. So I just followed Jim Farrell's LinkedIn page. I'm sure he's watching right now. Everyone, go follow Jim Farrell or Rappaport and go to his LinkedIn page, and you'll get all the latest market knowledge. No, LinkedIn is a good tool, or a good resource, just from a news standpoint and following certain companies. But the Washington Business Journal has been very helpful. Nationally, the Business Journal as well. I've kept my channel on Bloomberg Markets. That's been a little less depressing than some of the other news channels and news outlets. And I'm constantly doing my best to read. And there's a few national publications. SCT does a good job staying up to date, and so following certain trends. But yeah, it's continuing. There's an app that combines certain and all news articles that you're interested in, and so I do my best to stay up to date via that channel.
So speaking of secret sauce, do you have any tips for a college student who wants to be a broker? What should they do? What are the good first steps to take, or resources that you recommend?
And that's during this time, pre-COVID-19?
Well, I'm related now, so I guess it would be this time, yeah.
Sure. And so it's funny. I got my license. I started the education piece during college and then got my license right after I graduated. And so I think all of us complained when Sunday came around and we asked for an extra day. And we wanted, a day between Sunday and Monday, and now we do have a lot of time. I would encourage students who feel that where they are located now is where they want to be to pursue their license now. If they're not in a real estate program that will cover some of that. I know if you're in Florida, there's certain programs that you can take, or if you're getting your education, your high-level education in real estate, you won't have to take the course. You just sit for the test. But if not, I would encourage students to do that as well. And then if there's a market that they're in and they see themselves staying in that market and being in position to seek opportunity, whether it be during this time or post-COVID-19 restrictions, I would say get in your car and drive. Social distance in your car and drive the market and learn the market. What better way to do it now when there's no traffic? And that's been some of the things that Rappaport has done internally. We've been driving our sites. I've had the opportunity to see some projects I probably would not have seen on the other side of Virginia had COVID-19 not taking place.
It'll take me an hour. It'll take me 15 minutes. I can go now.
Yeah, it'll take me 15 minutes. Yeah, it has me, and so I use Waze too, and Waze is always, rerouting me certain ways. You go through somebody's, backyard to get to your destination.
Right, yeah, exactly. I love it.
Now I can take the real corridor.
I'll do some quick fire with you.
Okay.
Others through it as well. Name a favorite retailer.
Name a favorite retailer. Raising Cane's. That's not fair, Michael.
Yeah, good stuff. Maybe because you're working with them right now. I love it.
Yeah,
your favorite ICSC meeting?
Favorite ICSC? Recon.
There you go. The big
Recon.
one. Sports team?
Sports team. No comment.
Very good.
No, because you know how Washington D.C. is, and no comment.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, any big picture final thoughts? Any other shout outs you want to give?
No, I mean, again, I appreciate this opportunity. I hope this covered all of the points that you mentioned.
Yeah. Unless there's anything that you can think of in terms of a big issue that you didn't expect, or something that you've really picked up on or learned in the last couple of months.
Things that I didn't expect, or things that I learned in a couple of months. I got signed autographed books by Blaine Strickland.
Yeah.
That I would encourage students. So, Thrive and Adapt are two books that I've been reading. And Blaine Strickland is a CCIM professor, and he's written two books. And Thrive, it says 10 prescriptions for exceptional performance as a commercial real estate agent. I would encourage any college student or any young professional who's interested in brokerage to pick this book up. It really speaks volumes. And then Adapt is a follow-up book that was written a little before COVID-19. I've not started it yet, but the title is Disruption is Coming. Are You Ready? And it's gained a lot of popularity because I think a lot of people believe that this book was written to address the COVID-19 issues, but it really talks about ways that you can adapt in a changing market. And so I would say if there's any resource that I would recommend right now, it'd be these two books. I'm definitely engaged here.
Tell me, I mean, as you are on the younger side, it's always good to hear from a professional who's been starting out in the last 10 years.
Uh-huh.
What tips that you learned to immediately provide value at your brokerage and fit in? I think it's hard to navigate those first couple of years working somewhere. Do you have any maybe tips that you would give to an emerging professional?
Yeah, well, so I think it's important to remain hungry. I think, and I go back to the statement that I made earlier about adding value and honing in on a particular skill set. It takes time, and it takes patience, and soaking and learning all that you can so that you can help add value is important. And so any tips I can give to any young professional looking to get into the brokerage business is to be patient and heed some of the advice from the team or senior brokers and figure out ways that you can help add value. I think a lot of times, you may come in thinking that you're going to run point or you're going to run lead, and sometimes it's best to observe and learn because a lot of those brokers got to where they were making mistakes, and you can pick up from some of those mistakes and add feedback and use some of the mistakes that they've made to advise once you're in position. And so, that'd be my advice.
Well, it's very good advice. Very well said. You are our first broker, so it's very exciting to get
Awesome.
covered on our Instagram Live. So we want to give all the thanks to Thomas Bolen and for Rappaport as well for giving you to us for today. With all that said, we're going to keep these going. If any of the audience has, ideas about what they'd like to hear from next, obviously Thomas is a fantastic guest. But you can email me at mcow, so mcowden at icsc.com, and we'll see if we can make it happen on Instagram Live or beyond. We're trying to roll out as many resources as possible during this time, and this has been another great chat. Thomas, anything to take us away? Your words
No,
already.
I just saw a thumbs up from Joseph Gibbs. How are you? So we just did a deal, Skyline Town Center, and it is the first drive-through Starbucks deal in Southeast D.C., east of the river. So we are excited about that. And so shout out to Joseph. I just saw him. This is cool. So can we do another Instagram Live video soon?
Yeah, I love this. Yeah. Well, no, it's too funny that there's Starbucks now has a drive-through in DC. So yeah, I love it being a DC resident and learning more about the market as well. So we need more people to focus on DC. We are a real city. We might be the capital, but we're a real city too.
Real city. That's right. The district of Columbia. Well,
that'd be a real state, but we're a real city. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, look forward to being able to get a haircut. I think my hair is gonna look like yours in a minute.
Yeah, it's back as much as possible at this point. All right, everybody. Well, we really appreciate it. And Thomas, thank you for your time. And it was great to hear about the projects and your work experience. So take care, everybody.
Thank you. All right.